Hi, it's Claire again, and we're on to the next tutorial about learning to crochet. You should now be able to hold your hook and your yarn, and you can do the chain or foundation stitch, which is absolutely brilliant. You should feel really proud of yourself. What we're going to do this session is look at how to work the granny trebles. You're probably familiar with this pattern. It's the same as this one here. This is the foundation of the project that we're going to do. A granny treble refers to a cluster of 3 crochet stitches together and then a space. And there's plenty of different things that can be made. By the end of this session, you'll have made a little tiny blanket for a mouse, just like this, 3 rows of granny treble. If you made your chain stitch longer and you did more rows, this is how you would make a granny stripe blanket. And we're going to work a similar stitch when we actually do our full project. So, this might break your heart, but it's good for you. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to take your 100 chain stitches and pull them out, because we're going to start again. Sorry. Right, so starting with this, we need to do the slip stitch. So remember, you make your noose, you go round your thumb and tuck the tail in. Pull on the noose bit, and there you have your slip stitch. And the first job is to chain 15. So if you watch me, 1, 2, 3, 4, needle going behind, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now this is the tricky bit. It will take a little bit of practice and you might have to come back to this stage several times, but you can do it. What we need to do is to count 3 stitches. Could you zoom right in on this please, Dom? And this is where you start. So if you see here,
Hang on.
Sorry, I have a cameraman today, I'm very spoilt. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. You start on the 3rd one, which is here. Because we're doing trebles, those 3 chains will stand up on their own and they'll look like a treble stitch. So you start here, and if you remember, you need to go under the 2 plait parts and you need to leave the 1 bump at the back. So what you need to do is you go in, 1, 2, 3, you go in where you just were, under one, under the other, and you can see quite well there, I'm between those 2 plait parts and under the bump. Okay, so I was showing you that we go in under these things here, these points here. What you need to do to make the treble stitch first is you take your hook underneath the yarn so it's wrapped over the needle like that, and then you go in to your 2 plait stitches. Whoops. And this is a little bit fiddly, especially if your chain stitch is tight. It will take you a little while to go through. So when you've gone through your 2 legs, you've got your 2 legs of your stitch and your 2 hooks, 2 stitches on your hook. Then you take the hook behind this yarn and you pull it through the 2 legs of your chain stitch, and you should have 3 loops on your hook. Then you go behind, pull it through 1 stitch, behind, pull it through 2 stitches, and then behind and pull it through the remaining 2 stitches. And then we do exactly the same thing again into the same stitch. You put the hook behind, so you have 1 piece of yarn going over. You go into the same stitch as before. Knitters might find this weird, I thought it was a bit strange. Your hook goes behind the yarn, pull it through the 2 legs, so you've got 3 hooks on the stitch. Pull it through 1, behind, pull it through 2, behind, pull it through 3. Again, if it feels tight and stiff, you need to be as loose as you possibly can be. And that's our first granny treble. So 1, 2, 3, we go into the 3rd stitch, which is here. So you put your hook behind and we go in and we do exactly the same thing again. Now this might be a bit tricky and it might take you a little while to get the hang of, and it's not even easy when you've been doing it a little while, but it's perfectly possible. So you've got your yarn over and you go through this stitch and you put your yarn behind through the legs. So you've got three hoops, three hoops on your hook. Then you go behind, pull through one, behind, pull through two, behind, pull through two. And then we do the same again into the same stitch. And then you can see that you've got two sets of treble stitches with the gap in the middle. The gap's really important because that's where we'll crochet the next stage into on the next row. So what I'd like you to do is get to the end of the row. Okay, welcome back. Right, by now you should have your granny treble clusters done. You'll see that you have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the gaps in between them. What we're going to do now is work on the next row, and for the next row, if you look at this one, you'll see that you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we go up and you'll do 4 groups of treble clusters in the chain spaces that you left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it needs to work like that. So each row will go in the space that you leave from the row before, and that's established in that original foundation or chain row that you do. So you take your set of granny clusters, and then what we need to do is 3 chain stitches. So hook to the back, 1, hook to the back, 2, hook to back, 3, and then we turn it round. So you're working on the opposite side. I'm going to have to leave my yarn over there, sorry. Okay, and then what we do is we put our hook into the space where the first 3 chain gap was here. So we put the yarn behind, the hook behind the yarn, through that space, underneath that top row, which again might feel a bit weird if you can knit. Pull the yarn through. So you're hooking the yarn from the back, you go through there and you're hooking it back through to the front. And then again, you've got your 3 loops on the hook. You put the needle behind through 1, behind through 2, behind through 3. Okay. So let's look at that again. You've got your 3 chain stitch, you go behind this yarn, through that 3 chain gap, hook the yarn, bring it to the front, then you go under 1, under 2, under 3, and that's the first of your trebles, and then you do your next 2 in there. Okay, so you should have 3 treble stitches. I'm working in UK treble. Rather confusingly, US treble means something slightly differently. It's very frustrating, and I wish the crochet world would get their act together on that one. But that should only affect you when you start working from patterns, and it's just something that you need to make sure that you realise whether you're working on UK or US terms. They're quite easy to change from one to the other once you're used to it, but you do always need to make sure that you know which ones you're working on, because it would be the wrong size otherwise. And as you can see, I'm basically doing what we did in the row before, which was to just go into those chain spaces and repeat the granny clusters. I'll do it here. So you bring the yarn to the front, through the 1, through 2, then through 2. I always find it useful to have quite a lot of yarn pulled off the ball. Bring the yarn to the front, through 1, through 2, through 2, hook round the back, through the gap, yarn to the front, through 1, through 2, and through 3. Now what you do when you come to the end of this row is you need to attach to the top of the very first treble that you did. And if you look here, you've got 1, 2 trebles, but this one is actually made up of chains. So that's the top of the 15 chains you did initially. So you need to do a slip stitch, which is very, very similar to the crochet. You need to find the 3rd stitch, which is here at the top, and then like the foundation chain, you put your hook through the first leg and the second leg, leaving the bump at the back. Then you pull the yarn through and then through the 1 stitch on the thing, and there you go, you've attached that together. And then you do another 1, 2, 3, turn the work round, and we're ready to go again. So under, and then you go into that gap there that you've just made, pull to the front, 1, 2, 3, in that gap, pull to the front, 1, under the 2, under the 2. Now you only need to do 2 stitches here because that chain is acting as the 3rd leg of your 3rd treble. And then you work your way along as we've been doing before. Yarn over, bring the yarn through, under 1, under 2, under 2, hook to the back, through the hole, pull the yarn forward, under 1, under 2, under 2. And then we just keep going where there are all these lovely little gaps that you've left from the row before to the end of the row. I'll just let some more yarn off the ball. Hook behind, through the gap, pull through, under 1, under 2, under 2, under 1, under 2, under 2, under 1, under 2, under 2. So that's 3, and then the last one goes in this final space here. I'll do these quietly so I can do slow-mo. Okay, now when you've got that far, you'll see, you might have to pull it apart a bit, but you've done your 3 rows of granny stripe, which is fab. Well done you. Then you pull your loop, make it big with your yarn, get a big pair of scissors, snip off the yarn, and then all you do is you put that tail through the loop and pull, and there you have it, the tiniest granny stripe blanket in the world. Well done.